The Amnesia game. When my memory faded, their true hearts were exposed. My name is Jordan Hale, and the day I opened my eyes in that hospital in Atlanta, pretending not to remember the people I loved most, was the day I finally discovered who they truly were. This is the story of how I lost everything, faked amnesia, and watched betrayal unravel like a slow, poisonous fire. But it's also the story of how I reclaimed my life, with justice they never saw coming. Before I continue, please subscribe to my channel to see more interesting stories. Thank you. I woke up choking on the taste of betrayal long before I ever faked a thing. It began in a little apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I walked in early from work, excited to surprise my fiancée, Melissa. Instead, I found her in our kitchen with my own brother, Travis. Their whispering stopped the moment they saw me, but the guilt in their eyes screamed louder than any confession. Travis couldn't meet my gaze. Melissa didn't even try to explain. My knees weakened, not from shock, but from the realization that these two people had been lying to me for months. I stumbled back, reaching for anything to hold on to, but betrayal is a slippery thing. It lets you fall. I left the apartment without a word. By nightfall, I was driving aimlessly through the streets, headlights cutting through my tears. I wanted to yell, fight, break something, but I didn't. I made a different decision, a cold one. A week later, I crashed my car on a highway outside Atlanta. I survived, but the moment I woke up in the hospital, an idea hit me like a revelation. If they could betray me behind my back, I would expose them right to their faces. So I looked at the doctor, then at my family hovering nervously around my bed, and asked softly, "Who are you?" Melissa gasped dramatically, too dramatically, clutching her chest like she'd just been cast in a cheap soap opera. Travis, on the other hand, stiffened instantly. He wasn't worried about my memory. He was worried I'd remembered everything. I kept my voice soft. Fragile. I don't remember anything. Melissa burst into fake tears and hugged me. I let her, though her touch made my skin crawl. Travis placed a shaky hand on my shoulder. "Bro, you'll be okay," he whispered, but his eyes darted everywhere except my face. The doctor explained retrograde amnesia, and I pretended to struggle with basic details. My mother, bless her soul, believed it wholeheartedly. My father's jaw tightened. He suspected something, not the truth, but something. When everyone stepped out, the doctor leaned in. "Your scans are normal, Jordan. No physical memory loss. Trauma can block memories sometimes, but yours should return quickly. If it doesn't, we'll have to revisit this." I nodded, painfully aware I was stepping into a dangerous game. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted truth, raw, exposed, undeniable. And the only way to get it was to let them show me who they really were. When they believed, I remembered nothing. They insisted I shouldn't be alone. "Let's take you home," Melissa said, gripping my hand. Funny how she suddenly remembered she was my fiancée. My parents suggested staying with them in Atlanta, but Melissa insisted I return to Charlotte with her, probably terrified I'd regain my memory away from her manipulation. I pretended confusion. "Are we together?" She nodded eagerly. Travis looked away again. The next day, still in hospital clothes, I was driven home. I watched them the whole ride. Melissa adjusting her hair every 5 minutes, Travis avoiding my eyes, both terrified I'd remember the truth. But I had a secret. I'd already installed a tiny voice recorder inside my bedroom's smoke detector weeks before the crash. Not because I'd suspected betrayal, but because I was preparing for a podcast project. Now, that recorder became my greatest weapon. That night, pretending to sleep, I heard them whispering in the living room. "Do you think he remembers?" Travis asked. "No," Melissa hissed. "He's clueless. We just have to keep him that way." "Keep him that way?" I smiled into my pillow. Let the games begin. The next morning, I wandered into the kitchen like a lost child. Melissa hovered, over-attentive. "You like your eggs scrambled, babe," she said. I tilted my head. "How do you know?" She froze for half a second, too long, but smiled again. "Because I've known you for years." I watched her carefully. She wasn't worried about my comfort. She was worried about control. Meanwhile, Travis stopped by. He studied me like a bomb he wasn't sure had been defused. He asked casual questions that weren't casual at all. "Do you remember your job?" "No." "Your car?" "No." "The accident?" "Nothing." His shoulders relaxed a little. "Rookie mistake. When Melissa stepped out to answer a call, I pretended to reach for a glass of water, then accidentally dropped it. The shatter made Travis jump. Sorry, I said softly. Guess I'm still figuring things out. He bent to clean the glass and whispered under his breath. This can't fall apart now. I almost laughed. They hadn't just betrayed me. They were hiding something deeper. Something ugly. This wasn't just cheating. This was a conspiracy. A week into my recovery, I searched the house when Melissa stepped out for groceries. Maybe I wanted answers. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I just wanted her lies to suffocate. That's when I found it. A bank statement tucked into the drawer of her bedside table, from an account I didn't know existed. Deposits, large ones. Transfers, to Travis. Over $70,000 within a year. My heart pounded. This wasn't just betrayal. It was financial betrayal. They had been draining me. A sudden knock made me shove the papers into my pocket. Melissa walked in, smiling too widely. How are you feeling, baby? I forced a dazed blink. Did you say we're engaged? Her eyes softened with manipulation. Yes, sweetheart. She kissed my forehead, humming while unpacking groceries. Meanwhile, the bank statement in my pocket felt like a loaded weapon. I wasn't just going to expose them. Oh no, I was going to clean them out. The same way they cleaned me out. 3 days after finding the bank statement, I got my first major break, completely by accident. Or maybe fate was finally on my side. I woke up early and walked into the living room, pretending to be confused when I heard Melissa's voice. She was on a call, whispering. Her back was to me. Relax, Travis, she hissed. He still thinks I'm his fiancé. He doesn't remember anything. My chest tightened, but I stayed quiet behind the wall. We just need a few more weeks, she continued. Once the house is officially in my name, we disappear. You get your cut. We start over. My breath caught. My house. She was moving the deed. I leaned forward slightly, a dangerous risk, and my foot brushed against the edge of a rug. It made the faintest rustle. Melissa froze. Turned. I quickly widened my eyes and rubbed my temple. Mel, why are you whispering? I asked weakly. She forced a tense smile. Oh, you're awake. I was just talking to my mom. Liar. She came over and placed a hand on my cheek like I was fragile glass. You scared me, babe. Sit. Let me make you tea. As she walked to the kitchen, I stared at her coldly behind her back. They wanted to steal my life, and they thought I was too broken to stop them. They had no idea who they were playing with. The next day, I told Melissa I wanted to see a neurologist in Raleigh. Her face almost cracked. A neurologist? Why? She asked sharply. Because I want to remember, I whispered. Isn't that what you want? Her throat bobbed. Oh, of course. But that night, Travis showed up unexpectedly. My visit scared them. Their voices drifted to my room as I pretended to sleep. He can't talk to a specialist, Travis whispered angrily. You think I don't know that? Melissa shot back. If he mentions anything about the past, he'll ruin everything. They were panicking. Good. The next morning, I played my biggest mind game yet. I sat Melissa down and said softly, I think I remembered something. Her blood drained instantly. What did you remember? I looked out the window dramatically. I saw a man tall, strong, hugging you. I don't know who he is. She swallowed hard. Oh, that's your cousin. Remember? Very affectionate. I turned slowly. What's his name? Silence. She had none. I'm sorry, she stammered. I'm overwhelmed. I'll remember later. I nodded, pretending to accept the lie. Their fear was growing. They had no idea I was just getting started. If Melissa and Travis wanted to steal from me, I needed leverage and witnesses. So I invited my parents to visit. Melissa resisted. Hard. Baby, you're still recovering. Too much stress. Then let them help, I said simply. She froze. She couldn't argue without looking suspicious. When my parents arrived, I played my role perfectly, confused, fragile, uncertain. But I began dropping subtle threads. At breakfast, I asked Melissa gently, Sweetheart, did we fight often before? My mother's eyebrows shot up. Melissa stiffened. No. Why would you think that? Because sometimes, I whispered, touching my chest. When I look at you, it feels like I'm remembering pain. Melissa's spoon clattered into her plate. You're imagining it. My father watched her carefully. Step 1. Turn doubt into smoke. Later that evening, my father pulled me aside. Jordan, does something feel wrong to you? I've been watching her. I looked down, pretending to struggle with words. I don't know, but nothing feels right. He nodded slowly. Then trust your instincts, son. And just like that, Melissa and Travis were no longer dealing with just me. They were dealing with my family. Tonight, I decided to push Melissa to her breaking point. We were sitting in the living room when I suddenly went rigid, grabbed my head, and gasped, Mel, I'm remembering something. She nearly fell off the couch. What? What did you see? I stared into space dramatically. You, shouting, crying, saying something about secrets. I paused. And a man. She began shaking. What man? Jordan, what man? I looked directly at her. I don't know, but you were begging him not to leave. Her face twisted. She knew it wasn't a real memory, but the fear that her truth might slip through my fake memory terrified her. I think, I continued softly, that you weren't happy with me. Maybe you loved someone else. She stumbled back, eyes wide. Jordan, I loved you. I still do. You're confused. Then she ran to the bathroom. I could hear her vomiting. Perfect. Every lie she told was now turning into a ghost that chased her. And soon, one of those ghosts would lead me straight to the truth and the revenge I craved. I needed solid evidence, something undeniable, and fate handed it to me like a gift. One afternoon, Melissa invited Travis over. They thought I was taking a nap. I wasn't. I slid my phone under the living room door and hit record. Through the crack, their voices spilled out clear as day. Jordan is getting suspicious, Travis said. Of course he is. Melissa snapped. I can't handle this much longer. Well, we're too deep now. We used his money. We drained his accounts. We can't back out. My blood turned to fire. Then came the worst part. You were supposed to leave him, Travis hissed. I tried, but he proposed before I could. And then the accident. He wasn't supposed to survive that. My heart stopped. My own brother. My own fiancé. Silent. Planning a future without me. A future funded by my death. I nearly burst into the room, but I held myself still. Cold. Focused. This was bigger than heartbreak. This was attempted murder. And for that, their punishment would be poetic. And permanent. The moment I confirmed they had plotted my death, I knew I couldn't handle this alone. I needed someone smart, discreet, and deadly accurate with the law. So I contacted attorney Vanessa Cole, a sharp, fearless lawyer in Washington, D.C. I had worked with her once during a corporate contract case, and she owed me a favor. I told her everything. The affair, the stolen money, the fake engagements, the confession, even the attempted murder. She didn't interrupt. She just listened, eyes narrowing. When I finished, she leaned back and said quietly, Jordan, you're sitting on a gold mine of evidence. I want justice, I whispered, but the kind that makes them feel everything they made me feel. A slow smile crossed her lips. Then let's build a legal trap so elegant it becomes art. She helped me set up encrypted cloud backups of every recording, every document, every text. She coached me on how to gather more without tipping them off. You're acting, she warned me. Inside a house with people who'd let you die for convenience. Play your role carefully. I nodded, because now the game was bigger, smarter, colder. And for the first time since the accident, I felt power settling back into my bones like strength returning to a broken limb. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was the construction of justice, brick by brick. For weeks, I had been watching them. But now, someone else was watching me. It began on a quiet morning jog in Piedmont Park in Atlanta during a visit to my parents. A man wearing a blue cap appeared behind me. Not close enough to alarm, but not far enough to ignore. The next day, he showed up again. Different clothes. Same cap. The third time, he was leaning against a bench, pretending to scroll his phone, but his eyes snapped up the moment I passed. I stopped running, turned, stared directly at him. He flinched and walked away quickly. That night, I told attorney Vanessa. She didn't sugarcoat it. They may suspect you're remembering, or they hired someone to check your movements. The thought chilled me. Melissa and Travis weren't just liars. They were cowards who preferred shadows and distance. That meant whoever they'd hired was dangerous. Vanessa advised me to change locations frequently, vary my schedule, and avoid being alone. But even with her warnings ringing in my head, something darker gnawed at me. Melissa and Travis were willing to kill me once. If they suspected my memory wasn't gone, would they try again? I slept with the lights on that night, and a heavy object under my pillow. just in case. Back in Charlotte, I began collecting emotional evidence, not just legal. Because to break people like Melissa and Travis, you needed to expose not only their crimes, but their nature. One evening, Melissa walked into the living room wearing a necklace I had never seen before. A gold chain with a sapphire pendant. "It was yours," she said softly. "You gave it to me on your last birthday." I studied her face. She blinked too much. "Why don't I remember it?" I asked. "Because you loved me," she whispered, "and your heart is still trying to find me." A beautiful lie. A rehearsed lie. Later that night, I checked my old photos and bank statements. Not once, in 7 years, had I bought jewelry like that, meaning someone else had bought it. And the next morning, my suspicion turned into confirmation when I found a small jewelry box in Travis's car. The same pendant pattern engraved inside with 2 letters. M and T. Not Melissa and Travis. Melissa and Troy. A name they'd whispered once on the recording. Someone else was involved. Another man. Another secret. Another betrayal layered on top of mine. They weren't just playing me. They were playing each other. And that was a weakness I would use. 2 nights later, I received a message that nearly made my heart stop. Unknown number. "You're not as memory loss as they think. Stop digging. Stop asking questions. Or you won't survive the second time." My hands trembled. I immediately sent it to Vanessa. Her reply came in seconds. "Good. This gives us motive, pattern, and threat escalation. Do not respond. Forward everything to the encrypted file." I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me jolt. Every shadow looked like the man in the blue cap. But even fear couldn't overshadow the clarity forming in my mind. Travis and Melissa weren't operating alone. There was a third player. Someone dangerous, someone hidden, someone who had more to lose than both of them. But the message also confirmed something much more valuable. They believed I still had amnesia. I had the advantage. And their desperation was growing. Fear makes people sloppy. And sloppy people confess. So the next morning, I sat at breakfast and asked Melissa gently, "Do you think my memories will ever come back?" She nearly choked on her toast. Perfect. Panic was starting to eat them alive. I returned to the hospital in Atlanta under the excuse of a checkup. Melissa refused to go. Travis said he was busy. Good. At the hospital, I met privately with Dr. Langford, the physician who had treated me after the crash. "I need to see my file," I said quietly. He hesitated. "Jordan, if your memory is returning, maybe you don't need to." "I need to." He finally handed it over. And there, buried in the report, was the detail that changed everything. My brake fluid line had been tampered with. Deliberately. Not wear and tear. Not accident. Sabotage. I felt the room spin. Dr. Langford looked at me with grave eyes. "The police never pursued it because there was no suspect at the time. But Jordan, this was no random failure." I swallowed hard. "This file, does Melissa know about it?" "No," he said. "Only the hospital and the police. And now you." My fingers tightened around the pages. This was it. The missing piece. The undeniable proof. It wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just theft. It was attempted murder, confirmed by science. The poetic justice forming in my mind was no longer just a dream. It was becoming destiny. I decided it was time to squeeze Melissa and Travis. The truth becomes loudest when people panic. So I planned a memory celebration dinner, inviting both of them to a cozy restaurant in uptown Charlotte. I told them my doctor felt certain things were returning. Their reactions? Melissa. Stiff smile, trembling hands. Travis. Eyes darting like a cornered animal. Perfect. We sat down, and I made sure they were boxed into a corner booth with no easy escape. Then I said casually, "You know, sometimes I see flashes. Like broken film pieces. I remember the accident. Someone leaning over me before I passed out." Both froze. I leaned forward, voice soft. "Do either of you know who it might have been?" Melissa dropped her fork. "Jordan, and no, why would you even?" "Because," I continued slowly, "the doctor says the memories that return first are the ones linked to trauma." The silence was thick and choking. Travis swallowed loudly. Maybe someone stopped to help you." "Oh no," I said gently. "The doctor said it wasn't a helper. It was someone familiar." Their bodies stiffened at the same time. Then I delivered the final blow of the night. Funny thing, the brake line failure wasn't an accident. Travis went pale. Melissa's mouth fell open. and I smiled politely. Don't worry, I said softly. If I remember more, you'll be the first to know. They didn't finish their meals. That night after the dinner, Melissa avoided me. She stayed in the guest room, claiming she had a headache. But desperation has a smell, and she was drenched in it. Around midnight, I heard her phone buzz. Then again. She slipped out of the room, whispering. I followed silently. Stop calling me, she hissed. He's starting to remember. A deep voice answered. If he remembers me, you're finished. And so am I. I know, she screamed. But I can't control him. He spoke again, low and dangerous. You'd better. Because if this goes wrong, Melissa, I won't take the fall for you. She ended the call and collapsed onto the couch, shaking. The name Troy burned in my mind. This was the missing piece, the man behind the threats, the jewelry, the money transfers. The third betrayal. But Melissa didn't know I was recording. I stepped back into the shadows, letting her cry. Crocodile tears spilling for a man who wasn't even worth her soul. She had played all her men like chess pieces. But she forgot the most important rule. You never play chess with someone who already knows every move you're planning. Tomorrow, I would introduce Troy into my game, and the board would flip. I didn't have to look for Troy. He came looking for me. The next afternoon, as I was leaving a cafe in South End, I saw him leaning against a black SUV. Same man from the blue cap, except now he wasn't hiding. Jordan, he said, stepping forward. We need to talk. I kept my expression blank. Do I know you? His jaw ticked. Cut the act. His voice was low, threatening, but trembling just slightly. Fear hiding behind anger. He grabbed my arm. If you've remembered anything. I pulled away sharply. If I had, why would I tell you? He froze. He wasn't expecting that. Listen, he said, lowering his voice. Melissa and Travis, they made mistakes. But I had nothing to do with your accident. Lie. His eyes gave it away. You should stop digging, he said. You're going to get someone hurt. I leaned in, whispering. You mean me? Again. His pupils dilated. I walked away slowly, leaving him standing there, his mask slipping. Inside the cafe bathroom, I replayed every second of the interaction into my recording app. His threats, his denial, his panic. Vanessa called it golden evidence. But I called it something else. One more nail. One more weapon. One more reason they needed to pay. And they would. All three of them. As I gathered evidence, Melissa and Travis began their own ugly war with each other. I caught them fighting one night in the living room. You said the accident would solve everything. Travis shouted. And you said you'd protect me. Melissa screamed back. But now he's remembering, and you're panicking like a little boy. Oh, shut up. It was your idea to move the deed. Your idea to drain his accounts. Your idea to keep lying. It was your idea to cut the brake line. Silence. They both froze when they realized what she had said. Travis grabbed her arm. Are you insane? Why would you say that out loud? She yanked away. You're not pinning that on me. You did it because he was going to leave me. You needed him out of the way too. I stood silently at the top of the stairs, recording every word. They were destroying each other beautifully. When Melissa stormed out of the house, Travis punched a hole in the wall and collapsed to his knees. These two had joined hands to betray me. Now they were tearing each other apart with those same hands. But the climax hadn't arrived yet. I was saving that for the finale. Vanessa called me early the next morning. Jordan, she said, I need you to meet me in D.C. immediately. I've uncovered something. I took the first flight out. At her office, she placed a thick folder on the table. This, she said, is the real motive behind everything. Inside were documents. Property transfer papers, financial withdrawals, insurance policies, and then, one paper that made my stomach twist. A life insurance policy worth $850,000, signed by Melissa, with me as the insured. The beneficiary? Troy Benz. Melissa hadn't just betrayed me with Travis. She hadn't just stolen from me. She had taken out a life insurance policy for another man, planning my death as their ticket to freedom. Vanessa leaned forward. This is organized fraud. Conspiracy. Attempted murder. Federal charges. Jordan, this is massive. My hands shook with rage. It wasn't just about cheating, or theft, or lies. They wanted me gone. Forever. Vanessa tapped the folder. But first, we need them to confess fully. Publicly. On record. And I knew exactly how to make them do it. All three. To destroy liars, you don't confront them privately. You place them in a room where their own words become a noose. So I invited Melissa, Travis, and Troy to the same place, a beautiful rooftop lounge overlooking downtown Charlotte. I told each of them the same lie. I remember everything, but I want to talk before going to the police. Each came separately, thinking they were meeting me alone. I hired a private security team that Vanessa vetted. Cameras were already set up, microphones hidden in the walls. My legal team watched from a building across the street, streaming everything. Melissa arrived first, terrified. Travis came next, sweating. Troy last, the predator trying to look calm. They froze when they saw each other. Why is he here? Troy barked. I should be asking you. Travis snapped. Melissa looked like she might faint. I stepped forward slowly. You're all here, I said softly, because you all played a part in trying to erase me. Troy scoffed. You can't prove. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Their voices from the recordings echoed through the room. The arguments, the threats, the admissions, every hidden truth they thought I never heard. Melissa covered her mouth, trembling. Travis's face drained of blood. Troy clenched his fist. And that was just the beginning. Their nightmare had only started. The rooftop erupted into chaos. Jordan, please, listen, Melissa sobbed, grabbing my sleeve. I stepped back. Don't touch me. You tricked us. Travis shouted, pointing at me. No, I said. You tricked yourselves. Troy slammed his hand on the table. You think this is enough to take us down? Lies. All of it. I smiled coldly. You should know something, Troy. He hesitated. This rooftop? It's being live-streamed. His eyes widened. You're bluffing. One of the hidden lights blinked red, the indicator. Melissa gasped. Jordan, no, not this. Oh yes, I said softly. This meeting is being recorded, stored, and already transmitted to multiple secure locations. Even if you push me off this roof, it won't stop anything. Vanessa texted me at that exact second. Everything's coming through perfectly. Keep going. I turned back to them. Melissa, I said, tell Troy who signed the insurance policy. She stared at me, tears streaming. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Tell him. She broke. Troy, you made me sign it. You said we needed security if something went wrong with the brake line. Travis choked. Brake line. You told me you only wanted his money. You both disgust me, I said. All three of them were now screaming at each other, exposing each other, destroying each other, and the cameras captured every moment. The moment Melissa mentioned the brake line, Troy's mask shattered. You idiot, he shouted, grabbing her arm. Why would you say that out loud? Travis pushed him away. Don't you touch her. Oh, now you want to play hero? Troy sneered. She used you. You think she loved you? She told me you were pathetic. Melissa fell apart. Stop. Please stop. I remained silent, watching, memorizing, letting their lies crash into each other like broken glass. Then the final blow came when Travis said, You told me the accident was her idea? Troy turned slowly to Melissa. You told me he did it. Melissa dropped to her knees. No, please. I didn't want to lose either of you. Travis stepped back like she was a venomous snake. You played both of us. Used both of us. And all for money, I added. Not love. Not loyalty. Money. Melissa's sobbing became raw and animalistic. Troy looked ready to kill her. Travis looked ready to kill him. And I realized something. They weren't a team anymore. They weren't even enemies. They were rubble, shattered beyond repair. Now all that remained was justice. I took a deep breath. Thank you for your confessions, I said calmly. You've given me everything I need. And then I walked away as the sirens approached. By the time the police reached the rooftop, my attorney already had the case file on standby. Everything was in order. The recordings, the insurance policy, the medical sabotage report, the threats, the confessions, the live stream footage. The officers separated the three of them. Troy tried to bolt. They tackled him. Travis started crying violently, shouting that Melissa had manipulated him. No one listened. Melissa crawled toward me on her knees. Jordan, I loved you. I swear. You loved what I gave you, I said quietly. Please, please don't do this. You did this, I whispered. The police pulled her away, her screams echoing across the rooftop. The next morning, the news spread across North Carolina, Georgia, and D.C. Love triangle conspiracy ends in attempted murder arrests. Their faces were everywhere, mugshots filled with shame. People whispered my name with sympathy. Media requested interviews. Victim support groups reached out. But I stayed silent, peaceful, still, because justice wasn't noise. Justice was quiet satisfaction. And mine had finally arrived. Months later, the court sentenced all three of them. Troy, 25 years. Travis, 18 years. Melissa, 22 years. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder, insurance crime, financial theft, civil damages. Their futures were sealed behind metal doors. I stood outside the courthouse in Washington, D.C., and breathed deeply. For the first time since the accident, the air didn't feel heavy. Vanessa stood beside me. "You did the right thing, Jordan." "No," I said softly. "The truth did." She smiled. When I finally walked away, I understood something powerful. Revenge didn't come from their suffering. It came from reclaiming myself. My home was mine again. My accounts restored. My peace revived. My future unshackled. And the most poetic justice? Melissa, Travis, and Troy would spend the rest of their lives remembering every lie they told. While I lived free, I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their regret. My victory was simple. I survived everything meant to destroy me. That was the deepest revenge of all. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.